You're listening to Stand Out Get Noticed, episode 242. Hi there, Rockstar, and welcome back to Stand Out Get Noticed. I'm your host, Christina Canters, speaker, coach, and founder of The C Method, where we're all about helping high-performing professionals to build powerful communication skills. You can learn more at thecmethod.com. Now, this is the very last official episode of 2019. Can you believe that we're here? We're here. It's the end of the year. Super excited. It's been an incredible year and so many amazing things have happened, and I couldn't be more grateful for having you as a listener, for helping this podcast to continue to grow. You know, we're at over 1.7 million downloads now, which is unbelievable. At the end of last year, we were at 1 million. We hit 1 million. So it's been growing really quickly since then. So I want to say a big thank you to you for listening, for sharing, for commenting, for following, and for being generally awesome, being an awesome supporter. Now, after this week's episode, we will be doing a best of series. So over the next few weeks, I'll be resharing the most downloaded episodes of 2019. But today, I'm going to share with you some of my learnings from the year. Now, I've been doing a lot of reflecting recently. I put together a masterclass for the C Method Academy, my members-only online training and accountability program. Every month, I release a new masterclass, so like a mini course. And this month, it was all about reflecting on your year, celebrating your wins, and planning for your year ahead. Now, I'm a big believer in celebrating wins. In the Academy, I'm always encouraging our members to share their wins and in the Slack channel that we have, because it's important. You know, I truly believe it's important in order for us to feel fulfilled, to build our confidence, to feel that what we're doing matters and that we can achieve things. It's so important to have that celebration and reflection. So have been doing, this reflection and focusing on, what's been happening, I thought, I'm going to share on the podcast some of my learnings and some of my wins for the year. So these are in no particular order, and by no means is this list exhaustive. If I shared all my learnings for the year, we would be here forever. So I have picked 9 to share with you. So let's do it. The first thing I want to share is I learned about the concept of the zone of genius versus the zone of excellence. Now, I learned about this in the book, The Big Leap. You may have heard me talking about it recently. This is very fresh in my mind. If you want to learn more about it, go to episode 239, which is called Are You Living in Your Zone of Genius? Now, this was a huge learning for me because I discovered that there are some things that I do in my businesses that I absolutely love, that I'm in flow. It doesn't even feel like work, and it's my genius zone. And then I discovered that there's other elements of my work in my business that I'm really good at, but it doesn't quite bring me fulfillment. And something that I've learned is that we can often get stuck in this zone of excellence, doing the things that we're really good at. People pay us well for it. Our value is recognized, but we're just not fulfilled by it. It doesn't bring us that joy. And spending too long in the zone of excellence can lead us to feeling burned out and unfulfilled. So that was a huge thing that I learned. And if you did miss those episodes, my zone of genius, well, I have a couple, I think. One of my zones of genius is speaking to groups, right? So speaking or facilitating groups of people and being able to see, and what I love about that is being able to see the connection that people make. So let's say I'm running a workshop on how to be more assertive in the workplace. When I'm working through an exercise and I see people's eyes light up where they go, oh, yes, that's how I can improve there. Or I see that recognition where they go, oh, I'm not the only person who is feeling this way. I'm not the only person who has a little voice in my head saying, you're not good enough. And for me, that brings me so much joy to see that. And so that's why, I absolutely that's one of the reasons why I feel so energized and in flow when I'm speaking to large groups. So that's one of the things. I might share a bit more as we go along with these 9 things in terms of what I've discovered about my zone of genius as well. So let's keep going. So number 2. So that was the first thing, zone of genius, zone of excellence. The second thing that I learned, this is to do with your zone of incompetence actually. I've learned that I'm not a project manager. There are a couple of projects multiple projects we took on this year. One huge one was Aaron and my wedding. We got married in April this year, and we threw a lunch, a ceremony and a lunch, so quote unquote regular wedding. But then after that we threw a festival. And this was an all-night festival with DJs playing all night, jumping castle, loads and loads of fairy lights, a silent disco, face painting, what else? Food trucks, lawn games, we had it all. And I learned very quickly that being able to coordinate many, many different details together and to bring them all together is not my forte at all. And it's the same with podcast projects. With my other business, Podcast Services Australia, that I run with my husband, Aaron, I'm really good at doing the podcast training. I'm really great at having high-level conversations. But when it comes to implementing the little details of the project, and with the podcast, there's a lot going on, I feel I get very overwhelmed very easily about that. And I just struggle with it. So for me, that's my zone of incompetence. So, learning what you're good at or learning what you're not good at is just as important as learning what you are good at. Because when you start to realize, I'm really incompetent at that. And you realize, but that's okay. It's okay to be terrible at some things. We can't be good at everything. And by knowing what we're not good at allows us to then go, okay, well, I'm going to try and not do those things or do less of them so I can do more of what I am really good at. So it helps you to get really focused in on what it is that you really want to be doing. So the message for you here is to try to recognize what activities in your work bring you the joy and which activities drain you and where you really struggle. It doesn't mean that you have to continue to pursue doing that thing that you don't like, right? This is your life. You need to decide what it is that you want to do and not do. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, slightly not work-related, but still really important. I learned how to buy property. Yes, if you've been listening recently, you'll know that Aaron and I purchased our first property. We purchased a 2-bedroom apartment here in Melbourne just about a month ago now. Went to an auction, bid, did all that stuff. We now are officially in debt. Very exciting. And that was a brand new process for me. I learned that you can't trust a real estate agent ever. I learned that if you're a business owner, a mortgage broker is super, super useful to have. Our broker, James, he did an amazing job. As a business owner, the banks don't really like you. They think that you're unreliable because your income is not consistent, even if you're earning more than what you would have been earning if you were employed. But anyway, a good mortgage broker will help you to jump through all of the hoops and make it a fairly painless experience. So there was a lot of admin on our part, but we got there in the end. So really excited. We're going to be moving in January. So that was a great learning experience. Okay, number 4. This lesson is find what works for you. Now, what I mean by this is there are so many elements of life, right? So let's take, your career, your business, your diet, even buying a house, right? There there are many different ways that you can do these things. And what I've noticed, and for me in particular, like I noticed this with business. Let's take the membership site, for example, the C Method Academy. It's a membership site. I've been wanting to launch that for years now, but I was always so overwhelmed with all the different ways I could do it. It could be monthly. Is it every 6 months? Do you have how often do you release content? How do you structure the calls? There's just so many different ways you can do it. How much do you charge, et cetera, et cetera. And when you research, right, you find 1 million people all doing membership sites, and they're all doing it differently, and they're all telling you that their way is the way. If you've been watching the Star Wars series, The Mandalorian, there's a meme going around of one of the characters. He says, "This is the way." He says it a few times, "This is the way." I feel like online, right, there are online marketers everywhere telling you, this is the way. This is how you do a membership site. This is how you do social media. And it's very tempting to run along with that and go, okay, I'm going to follow everything you do. But then someone else goes, no, this is the way. And so you go, oh, all right, I'm going to do that. And then you just get overwhelmed and you think, and then if you don't quite, if you don't quite succeed with that methodology, they say, oh, it's because you didn't follow it to the letter. You didn't follow it 100%, you only followed it 80%. So that's why it didn't work. So it can be quite disheartening. I found the same thing with diet stuff. Like I was eating the ketogenic diet this year, and then I watched documentaries about how meat and animal fat is really bad for you and you should go plant-based. And honestly, it is so confusing. I'm like, I do not know who to believe. There's every single expert or professor or researcher out there is saying this is the way. This is how you need to eat. It's the same with social media. You talk to someone about LinkedIn, might say, "Oh, LinkedIn is the way. It's the tool that you need to use to grow your business." And then other people are like, no. Instagram is the way. I get all my clients through Instagram. It's amazing. You're just not using it properly. Blah, 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 blah. So it's on and on and on and on. And what I've found is that there are many different ways that will work. There is not just one way. There are thousands of ways you can build a membership site. You can be successful on any social media platform you want. You can lose weight and be strong on a plant-based diet, on paleo, on keto, on an all ice cream diet. I don't know, whatever. They will all work. You hear the story of the guy who ate nothing but potatoes and lost a bunch of weight, right? Anything will work, but it's about finding the one that works for you. So if you love Instagram, go all out on Instagram. That's going to work for you. If you want to build your membership site and have, 10 people instead of 1,000 people, you want to keep it small, but make it more high price, do that. If you want to move around your career and other people are saying that you can't do that, I don't care if that works for you, go for that. Find what works for you. I know this became a little bit ranty, but it's so important. So it's so important to not be too distracted and overwhelmed by everyone else in your ear, people online and people around you just saying this is the way to do it. Pick what works for you and do that. All right, number 5, the 5th thing I learned, it's kind of a win actually. I overcame my shame about my apartment. Now, I haven't talked too much about this, I think, but for the last 4 years, Aaron and I have been living in a very small 1-bedroom apartment. We've been saving up really hard for our new apartment, which we have now purchased. So yay, win. But for a long time, I had a lot of shame around my apartment. I didn't want to invite people over. I was worried about what people would think of me. I think I have this thing in my mind about, if you, in order to be successful, you need to have a huge, beautiful house. I mean, I grew up in a huge, beautiful house, and I would have friends come over, from school, and they'd say, "Oh my God, your house is amazing." And so that's I think that's where it comes from, and I associate, people liking me and being impressed by having a beautiful home environment. And from not having that exactly, I wasn't proud of my home. And then a few things happened. I went away on a weekend with my beautiful sister, Zay, and this house was so wonderful, and there were like candles and blankets, and it was so warm and cozy. And I remember thinking to myself, can't I make my own home warm and cozy like this? And I realized I don't have to be living in a huge, beautiful space in order to make it, warm and funky and fun and cozy. So I came back home and I said to Aaron, that's it, we're going out and we're buying a heap of cool stuff for our apartment. So I think having these feelings of shame and, my home isn't good enough stopped me from actually really enjoying being in the space. So I have slowly been working on dissolving that shame and taking pride in my home, no matter how small or how old or, whatever it is. And just doing what I can to enjoy it while I'm here. Because ultimately, it was something that we had chosen to not change. So I'm a big believer in, if you don't like something in your life, change it. Do something different. Get out of your comfort zone. Make that change. And sounding like a Michael Jackson song now. Make that change. Gonna make that change today. Yeah. And I was like complaining to myself going, oh, I just want to move out. But then we had made the decision that we would save for a new place. So it wasn't something that I couldn't change. I just chosen to not change it. And now look, my patience has paid off and we've got a new place and we're going to be moving. So I'm really, really excited about that. All right, number 6. I learned all about nonviolent communication, or NVC. Now, this was a game changer for me. I don't often read a book about communication or speaking where I go, wow, mind blown, because usually it's like most of the same stuff. But I read Nonviolent Communication and it was amazing. Make sure you listen to episode 234, How to Stand Up for Yourself in a Way That Feels Good, where I speak with Marianne Van Dyke about the nonviolent style of communication. Now, this style of communication has taught me how to validate other people's feelings. So when someone's expressing that they're really stressed or upset, instead of saying, oh, don't be upset, I now validate their feelings and say, wow, that must be really stressful for you. And I won't go into the details now, but it completely shifts the way you communicate in order to be way more empathetic and building such a strong connection with that other person, which then makes them, open up to you more and build a stronger relationship. So I highly, highly recommend that book, Nonviolent Communication. All right, number 7. So a 7 out of 9 here. Number 7 is to create once, deliver often. Now, I read this in a book by Peter Cook and Matt Church. You may remember Peter Cook from a recent episode where we talked about habits and how to be generally awesome. That was a really, really great episode. I really enjoyed that one. So Peter and Matt run a company called Thought Leaders Business School, and I'm not affiliated with them, by the way, but they wrote a book called, I think it's called Think. And what they do is they talk about when you create something, so like a blog post or an article, a video, or you have an idea, you think really deeply about that idea and then you use it in multiple ways. So this is about creating a bank of ideas and, your IP, your personal IP or professional IP, which you create it once and then you share it in multiple ways. So for example, I might create an idea for a podcast and then do a podcast about it, but then I might also deliver this as a workshop somewhere else. Or I might turn it into a video and create that there. Or I might turn it into a chapter of a book. So I've thought of the idea once, I've thought it through, I've thought about why it's important, how does this affect people, what are the steps that you take, what's a study that relates to this that that gives it more backing, and then I can reshare that over and over and over again. So this is something that was very cool to learn, because what it does is it makes you go, oh, I don't have to be constantly creating new stuff all the time. It's okay to reuse content. So that was number 7. Create once, deliver often. And then number 8. Okay, so number 8. This is a win and a lesson. The win was that I hired my first full-time assistant in May of this year. His name's William, and he has been, making that decision is one of the best ones I've ever made. Being able to outsource is just so, it just lifts this huge weight off your shoulders. Now, it's definitely not easy getting started with this, right? It's a financial commitment to bring on someone full-time, and then it's a time commitment in terms of training them. And I'll tell you what I did this year. I spent a good 6 weeks at the start of this year, over January, February, when business was a bit quiet. I spent a lot of time writing my standard operating procedures, my SOPs. So what I've done is, for every single process in my business, I've got a detailed step-by-step process for it that's written, and I've created video tutorials as well of like a screen flow capture of me doing the thing, so that I can hand these SOPs over to anyone. So anyone I hire, I can just hand it over and say, here you go, here's how you do it. And they're able to follow the instructions and get it done. So if you're thinking of outsourcing or bringing on an assistant, I cannot emphasize how important it is to write down these clear processes. And I know many people go, oh, I don't have time to write processes. And it's kind of like, well, if you don't have time to do that, it shows how badly you do need to write them and to outsource. And I know it is a time commitment to get that done. You might have to take some time away from doing your regular work, but I promise you it is amazing. And even if you don't run your own business and you don't need, like an assistant for work, have a think about some of the things in your life that you can outsource anyway, like outsourcing your life. I know there's a company they're based in Melbourne, they're called Nanager, as in manager, but with an N, Nanager. And they have nannies that will look after your children, but also do like your groceries and your cleaning and your shopping and, admin sort of errands for you as well. And I was thinking, man, I don't even have kids and I want a Nanager. Like, I want a Nanager to like do my grocery shopping for me and cook me dinner and prepare my lunches for the week. So yeah, maybe in the future. But it's amazing to, once you start thinking about, oh, maybe I could outsource that or outsource that, you can then, it frees up more time for you to do things. Oh, Airtasker is another one, right? I know on Airtasker, I've had like a mobile mechanic come and like service my car without me having to drive it anywhere. We've had someone come around and clean our blinds in the lounge room because they were really filthy, had them come around. We had someone come around and steam clean our carpets. So like you can, just outsource whatever you can. Start getting into the habit. It's really good fun. So that was number 8, like a win/lesson. Oh, and then number 9, finally, the final lesson of 2019 I want to share with you is, when you have a passion and you have a vision for something and you communicate it well, it is amazing what you can create. Now I want to use my the festival wedding I mentioned earlier. I want to use this as an example. I was talking to my friend and my friend Cliff Ravenscraft, who he was coaching me early this year, and we did a couple of coaching sessions. He's a really amazing business coach, and he was asking me about my year and like what was going on, and I said sort of offhand, oh, this isn't really relevant, but Aaron and I, we threw a festival this year, and I kept talking, and he gently interrupts me and he says, Christina, what do you mean this isn't relevant? This is 100% relevant. Tell me more about this wedding. Tell me more about this festival. And so as I started to explain to him, I started crying. I started crying because it was becoming clear to me the impact that this festival had, not just on Aaron and myself, but also on all of our friends and the people who came and my family. And I realized just how big of a deal it actually was to have brought this thing together. And, it was really a life-changing experience. And something that blows my mind every time is that Aaron and I, we just had an idea. It was just an idea. And somehow, and like I said before at the start of this episode, I'm not a details person. I'm not very good at bringing tiny little pieces of information all together and making things happen. But I'm really good with ideas, as is Aaron. And we started off with an idea and a vision. We knew exactly what we wanted it to look like. We knew what experience we wanted people to have. And we essentially just told everyone about it. We told all of our friends about it. And we then also, this is key, we also started asking for help. And as we did this and more and more people began to get excited about it, people began to offer to help. We had friends rope in other people who were then able to help us and give us really invaluable support. And at the end of it, looking around at the festival, I thought to myself, I cannot believe what this is now, what we've created. And I couldn't believe that what started off as an idea somehow turned into this magical experience that changed a lot of lives that night. I'm not exaggerating. We had people tell us afterwards, I was saying that was a life-changing experience for me. A pivotal moment in their lives. So that was, very overwhelming in a good way. And I know that a lot of businesses, a lot of movements, a lot of other amazing initiatives have come from, a similar origin, just an idea. But people have, been really passionate and communicated this and got people into help and people have been, driven by that passion and excited by it as well. There's so many examples of how this has happened. So for you, I want you to think about, do you have an idea? Are you excited about something? And it doesn't have to be a festival or a business or, a world-changing, phenomenon that you're creating. But I want you to get that message out. If it's something that you really care about, start talking about it. My business started out of me talking about how much I, loved helping people. And then other people started to feed ideas into me. So when you have that passion for something and a vision, make sure you talk about it and talk about it with excitement, with enthusiasm, and you'll be amazed at what can come from it. Okay, Rockstar. Those are my 9 lessons from 2019. My 9 lessons / wins from 2019. I want to say, again, a big thank you to you for listening, not just to this episode, but, for being a listener and a supporter of this show. It really means a lot, and I'm really grateful to have you as part of my community. I would love if you can, connect, if we haven't yet already. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Christina Canters. Also, if you want to join the C Method Academy, we have a supportive community of people who are actively helping each other in their communication and in their development. We'll be opening that up in February again. I say again because we launched it in October this year and we're going to be reopening it next year. So make sure you go to thecmethod.com/join where you can join the wait list, and I'll let you know when the doors open. In the meantime, have a fabulous Christmas and a New Year break. I will be releasing some best of episodes over the next few weeks, and I'll see you back, or you'll hear from me back again on Wednesday, the 8th of January, 2020. Take care. Have a very enjoyable, love-filled and safe festive season, and I'll see you bright and fresh in 2020. My name's Christina Canters, and this has been Stand Out, Get Noticed.